Hi, Alissa.
Hey, Katie.
Hi, Brittany.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're so excited to have a guest today. We're going to talk about a very interesting topic, I think. So, Brittany, will you tell us who you are and where you are and what you do?
Yes. So I'm Brittany Norman. I am a local real estate specialist, as I'm calling myself, here in Pinellas County, specifically Palm Harbor. You might know by Clearwater. I am the wife to an amazing mom. There you go. I am wife to an amazing husband. I am the mom of 3 girls, and I have 3 real estate related businesses. So I love all things home.
That's awesome. Can you tell us what your 3 businesses are?
Sure thing. So my first baby, so to speak, my real estate baby, was my home and DIY blog, Ellison Made, that I started in 2014. And that started after the birth of my second kid, just trying to make some money on the side. And that turned into more of a blog instead of a shop. And then my next baby was one of our homes that we renovated, and that became the Palm Harbor Hideaway, which is now a short-term vacation rental for people visiting in the area. And my most recent was I finally checked off getting licensed as a real estate agent last year. And so I joined my brokerage almost a year ago today doing real estate.
Oh, congratulations.
Did you get your license to manage your own things, or are you trying to actively work with buyers and sellers? Like, what's your goals with getting your license?
Both. I did not want it to be crazy because it's already, busy lives, but it was mostly like, hey, if I can save on my own down payment or, you know what I mean? That side of things. I started there. I did do the for sale by owner thing, and I saw the pros and cons, and I thought, well, that's not always a successful route. You really should hire someone who knows what they're doing. And I wanted to be such a help and voice to people because I felt like some of the ones that I interviewed, I didn't feel like I maybe was being heard. And so I just really wanted to be able to go out there and say, here's what you can do to get your house ready. All of the things that you guys know. I wanted to just be kind of a little bit different.
I love that. Okay, so I like that you told us a little snippet of your investment journey. As far as being a homeowner, can you kind of give me just the progression of, did you live in your first home for a while? Has it always been renovations? What is your kind of your journey through home ownership?
Yes, absolutely. So when my husband and I first got married, we did the renter thing, which is absolutely sometimes necessary for whatever reasons. And we got to the point, though, where it wasn't really necessary. I was like, we can purchase, we can save, the 100% interest that rent sometimes is. And so we bought our first place, and I never wanted to leave it. But we bought it and we slowly fixed it up. And when I say fix up, I mean just cosmetic. This was nothing major. Had great bones, and I always look for great bones and however you can update it cosmetically. And then 3 years later, we kind of had to move. It was not anything we wanted, but 3 years later, we bought for $170 and sold for $270. And I thought, what other opportunity is there to make that kind of money? And also all of the tax write-offs and things. So it was the first time I really was like, wow, real estate feels kind of safe to me because I'm a conservative person. And so it was the eye opener there.
And so y'all decided after that experience that you wanted to duplicate that and do it again?
Yep. We went ahead and paid off a little bit of debt, and then we moved to Georgia where you get a lot more home for less money. And so we did that, and that purchase was similar. 4 years later, we purchased it at $240 and was able to sell for $415, which those were the moves we had to make. Now we're at a point where I don't want to sell a home ever again. And I don't want a ton, but I want, one for each of my kids because this is just who I am. I'm thinking super future. And so now we had the one that we fixed up completely. That's the short term. The one we are in now, which happened to have flooded with Helene and we were putting back together, will be probably a midterm rental for snowbirds or month to month, kind of that in between short term and long term so I can access it.
Hey there, are you looking for ways to save time and money in your business?
Email Templates 101 is the communication system you need to bring ease and efficiency to managing your transactions and clients.
Save time and avoid mistakes, all while providing a high level of service for your buyers and sellers.
In Email Templates 101, you'll get 13 downloadable buyer templates ready for your personal touches.
And 19 downloadable seller templates, plus 6 attachment checklists.
Head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/courses to get yours today. Okay, so you will at some point in the future have another primary residence though. You're not gonna sell this house.
Correct.
You won't fix and flip again, basically.
I will not fix and flip if I am living there because I'm approaching 40 and it was fun while it lasted, but now I'm ready to not. There's just clutter, it's chaos. There's a lot that goes into it, but I don't regret it by any means. It's just where we are in life. We're ready now. We were in a 2-bedroom because we bought, back in 2021 when everything was, you had to pay and waive all these things. So we couldn't find anything. So they said, let's just do a 2-2. And there's 5 of us. And so, yeah, we're ready.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Okay, so I do have a question about living in a construction zone. I am so sorry that you were impacted by Helene. So you're about 6 months removed from that. You're sort of an expert, though, in living where there is construction. So can you tell us, was that something that could help you serve your clients or people you knew after the hurricane? And what is it like to live in a construction zone? Like some tips.
Yeah, absolutely. We were like, this is a horrible situation, but we feel so blessed that we are able to. It's not our first rodeo, so to speak. I mean, it was with flooding. This was completely different because it was not on my terms and it's a lot bigger of a project. But we have an amazing network of people who are able to come in and help us. And so being one of the first ones finished, if you will, I mean, we still have trim and stuff to do. We were able to help neighbors and recommend those contractors who you trust and know that can help you. I'm able to navigate flood policy versus here's your FEMA amount. We have to have a private appraisal to increase the value. There's a whole lot of things for flood zones that we deal with. And I think you guys too, right? Yeah. So it's definitely a trial by fire, and it's been a great learning experience to be able to help buyers and sellers.
Even just from looking at your Instagram, you do so much yourself. You are very handy. How did you learn how to do all that? How did you get into that?
Well, bless my sweet husband who works. He's the hardest worker I know. He'd come home and I'd be like, this is the project for you. This is and part of me was like, why am I waiting on him to do this? I didn't have someone teach me these things, but a lot of stuff is not as scary as you think. I still won't touch electrical, plumbing. I won't touch your major stuff. I will hire licensed people, but anything cosmetic, if I'm going to pay for something and someone might mess it up, I might as well just do it myself. And if it's only me to blame.
Yeah, just mess it up yourself.
I mean, I don't want to mess it up, but at least I didn't pay for it and I have to go and fix it,
That's a really good point. I remember in our first house, me and my husband thought that we could make a limestone slate patio. Oh my gosh. It went so badly. That thing looked good for 5 minutes after we finished it.
Ooh.
And then it was just downhill. The limestone didn't harden. It was crumbling. I had to pay so much money to get someone to come actually scrape out all the rocks that we had brought in and then just pay for concrete. And I thought, I'm never doing that again. Have you ever had a project that you tried and just at the end of it, you were like, this is terrible?
Yes. Painting kitchen cabinets. Cause I'm like, I've seen, and again, this is my wheelhouse, right? DIY. And I'm seeing my friends do it and here's the tutorial and I do it. And I'm like, nope. You have to know how to prep them properly. You need to spray, all of the things I learned from that. I went back and wrote a blog post and say, hey, here's the first round. They look great, but they didn't hold up. They got scratched. They're awful. I try to teach by what I've learned and not, be afraid of my mistakes.
Do you feel like you could successfully now paint kitchen cabinets?
Yeah, our Airbnb we did for $1,000. They were clearanced out wood cabinets. I primed them, painted them. They're not, you go in there and you touch them, they're not going to feel high end, but we don't live there and people are using it short term. They're not going to care as much. And if they get ruined, I'm not out. Our tiny kitchen, $10,000 where we live now. So yeah,
and it's almost like you need some fails for a blog because that's what people relate to. And they need to be this is what I did and it did not work.
Yes.
So
yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, you need the not to-do list as much as you need the to-do list, right? Just learn from what I did wrong.
Yes, and I definitely hire for these things. Tile, yes, maybe I could do a great job, but these people are meticulous. You're not going to have, there's certain things, even though you can do them yourselves, depending on your county and whatnot, it's not always the best.
Okay, being someone who has moved many times and built or done a renovation while you're there, do you have some moving tips? How do you What were the spans of your fix and flips? Like, were you just there 2 years? Did you unpack all the way? Like, give us some moving advice.
So I never planned to do the fix and flip. It just happened to be we purchased homes very wisely in great areas that needed a little work. So we moved fully in. Like, I didn't keep things around. But box labels, there's a company, Box Ops. I don't know if I can say that. They have these wonderful labels that have each like room designated in each box. So that really helps. But no, I still have bins of things. So that's probably the part of like the chaos zone that I'm finally looking forward to being in our forever home and everything having a place, because there's kind of a lot of holding zones when you are renovating. Here's where these lamps are that will eventually go in this room and things like that. But again, I don't regret it one bit. I think it is a great way for financial freedom down the road. It just takes a little bit of sacrifice in the interim.
I know. I wish my husband was on board with it, because I think for me, living in something, redoing it while we're there, enjoying it for a year, selling it, but I don't know. And it might be me, actually. I think maybe it's me. I get emotionally attached to houses.
Yes. So I asked, one of the ones was like, do you get, I get emotionally attached. It's not so much the things that I did, the projects, like, yes, I'm proud of them, but I have pictures. It's my kid walked up those steps, like I miss our Georgia home for sure, because so many memories were when they were little, and I would have never sold our first home because it's right down the street. And, that's where I bought my baby home too. So I'm like that. I see that and don't want to sell. And
sometimes I think maybe if I sold more, I wouldn't feel this way. Like if I had to move around more.
Now you're too established.
Yes. Like my parents, for example, I think maybe it is me. It's not Tanner. My parents live in the house that they built before I was born. My dad built it with my mom's brothers.
Oh, my God.
Like on Saturdays for a few years, and they're still there. And I've been in my house 10 years, whereas my husband, when he was little, they moved a bunch. So he's just always looking, but he doesn't want to live in a renovation, and I could see the value of doing it that way. But you and Jay did that a little bit.
Well, we built for ourselves. So we were not renovating. We were not living in construction. We did the construction, and it's certainly a lot like a fix and flip in that 2 years after we had been in our first house we built, we sold it and made a lot of money, right? Because we did a lot of the work ourselves. Like he laid the floors, he did the trim, because he is very handy. So that is nice. And then we built the house we're in now and got too attached. We liked our neighbors. We liked the location. It's the neighborhood where my parents live. So then it's just like, oh,
this is the perfect spot.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard because I think in theory we even thought, oh, this one will do the same thing again. When you went to the second one, did you think we'll fix it up and then we're like more willing to sell, or was it really a surprise the second time as well?
The second time we knew we wanted to, so Florida's my home. So our first home was Florida. We moved to Georgia. I knew that was like my exile. Like I was like, let's just be here, because goal was to come back to Florida. So while I missed that home, that home was incredible. Okay, where we are now is so much smaller, but it's because of the people, the community, the neighborhood. And so at the end of the day, that is what's most important is, I'm not saying become like a military and move if it works out that way, go for it. But that second one, I went in knowing we're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
Florida. And now we're in such a smaller home because of everything that we're like, do I sell both and buy her forever? We're trying to kind of figure that out.
Where do you see your forever home?
Well, where we are is the most densely populated county in all of Florida. So I am like aching for land. And my newest thing is not to have a fix and flip or a home even. It is actually to have a few acres just about 1 or 2 hours north of here, where we have a site where you can actually, I'm not going to live in it, but you can live in your RV part-time. So you can have like a campground situation. So we'll have the land, have a place to go visit and play. But I think our forever home is here, so it's not going to have land.
Yeah. That makes sense. That would be nice to have a place to go when you need that space, but then to also have the convenience of being in the middle of everything around the people that you talk to and work with and all the things that come with that as well.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you may have answered this a little earlier, but do you feel like you're done flipping?
Yeah. Will you do ones that you don't live in?
So this is the coolest thing is like I'm helping a buyer now with one of these flooded properties that's getting flipped and invested. And she's like, hey, what's this going to look like? How can we do that? And same thing for another one. So I'm able to do it vicariously and be just as like, oh, this is rewarding because I'm able to help see it, but I don't have to be the one living in it. I don't have to be the one funding it, essentially. So maybe, but right now, just because it was a lot with what we went through that was kind of blindsided, I'm on hold. And I didn't think I'd ever say that, but I am on hold.
Yeah, because is your house put back together now, or are you still working a bit?
We're still working a bit, but we got back in right before Thanksgiving. We were thankfully living in our Airbnb. You know, we had that option, which is right down the street, and a lot of people did not. And so that was tricky. That was another huge benefit to owning additional real estate. But yes, we're put back together pretty much.
I have a question about, you mentioned, I think when we talked before, that you were your own general contractor for, how many of your projects have you done that? And how did that go? Were you nervous about doing it yourself?
Well, yes and no, because I can apply, again, this all is different for wherever you are. You can apply for like owner GC acting if you live in the home and it's homesteaded for where our county is, but then I can hire subcontractors for those things. But all the things that aren't required a permit, flooring or paint and whatnot, I feel 100% confident in that. So that's the route I kind of went. And the benefit is that you can piecemeal, because if you have a GC come in and say, do it all, it's great because guess what? You're not living in it. It's done within X amount of time. You move in, great. But you also are paying that premium for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With your Airbnb, are you managing it yourself? Do you go change the sheets and get it ready for the next guest?
I have a deep cleaner that comes in 1 to 2 times a month, but I do the turnovers. I make sure that I don't allow anything less than a 3-day stay because it's not worth my time or energy. Thankfully, we usually have 4 to 5 day stays average. So it works out really well that 1 day a week, I'm going over there, I'm doing all of the laundry. My kids, they're involved and I pay them. So it's kind of like the 3 businesses and the 3 homes in the back of my head are just trying to set up my children, essentially. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be given them, but they know how to work hard. They now have kind of a advantage for financial literacy that neither my husband or I myself had. So, yeah, I do it all. And I've been asked to do some co-hosting. And I think the only way I would do it is helping getting your listing set up, because guest communications and real estate communications, you just can't do both.
What do you mean co-hosting?
So someone wants to start an Airbnb. I am on Airbnb's listing as a verified, or whatever they call it, co-host. Yeah, so someone can hire me to help get them going. But I won't do it as a guest communication because it's not my baby. So if they don't do a wonderful job, it would ding me in my ratings. So what I do is I help you get it going. Like I'm a consultant, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you done a lot of the consultings? Do
you get a lot? I'm picky with them.
Whoa, were they near you or were they in complete? Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, right here. I know the area very well. I almost replicate my guidebook, but a little bit different for the home. But I know the areas, the places to visit, the places to eat. So that's part of it.
That's kind of cool. Are you in essence helping your competition, or is it just? Yes. Okay.
That's where I go. That's where I now am looking at like my commission paycheck versus this gonna, I do have to consider some things there, which I take on or not, which they can find that information anywhere. I'm very much a big believer in community over competition, and sometimes it bites you in the butt, unfortunately, but I don't know. I think it'll always come back around.
What's your rental rate there? Like how often is it occupied?
It's occupied 70 to 80%, but I keep a buffer of 1 day in between the bookings because, again, it's me doing it and sometimes stuff comes up. So, and I have different sets of laundry, so that one's already ready to go. But my rate, I use a tool called Price Labs, and it basically is like a smart tool that automates. I say, here's my max, here's my min, and it goes in and it tells me based on all of the data, is this a busy time of the year? What else is booked? And it automates my pricing for me.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Do you do that?
Yeah, so I have a cabin near Gatlinburg, Tennessee, that we bought in 2020 in January, right before COVID happened. And I was thinking, what have I done? Have I messed up? And only to find out I did not mess up. It was the greatest investment for how cabins went the next few years. But it's definitely slowed down, now that we're in 2024, 2025. During I had like years of just full bookings, everything, because during those times everybody was going to the mountains, you know.
Yep.
It has slowed down, but it's still doing well, and I'm not too upset about the slowdown because it's allowing me to do some maintenance and things that you can't always do when it's always full.
Yep.
But this year already, I've had some pretty major expenses, surprises come up that I'm like, man, you know, it's like when things go wrong, you're like, why am I doing this? And then when it's rented and you don't hear from anybody, you're like, oh yeah, this is why.
I always
This is
say,
why.
like, this is not as passive as me. I mean, it might be for you if you've automated and you have people in place because you don't live remotely.
No, I have a cleaning lady. You know, I tried a few different companies
Mm-hmm.
and they never sent the same person. My
Yep.
checklist wasn't done. So I ended up just finding like a lady that
The
does
best way.
this and only wants like 3 cabins. And she's sort of my eyes and ears. And I haven't been to the cabin since my son was born and he's 4. Because it's too long of a drive to take the kids but I'll send I'll send people I know and be like,
Yep.
y'all go enjoy yourself and just let me know. Are the towels good? How are the sheets? Is it clean? Do I need to address anything?
That's
So that
awesome.
I've had eyes laid on it. I just haven't actually been there lately. I am kind of getting the itch to go check it out. But yeah, I mean, finding those trusted people is so important.
I mean, I aspire to that. That's incredible. If I was like, I didn't have to go for 4 years because your person is doing their job. Do you
Mhm.
find it's like saturated there or you're, that market type thing?
So that's what's really funny is that I bought it in 2020 for like $295,000 and thought to myself, I am overpaying, but whatever. And then by the end of 2022, I was getting offers for like 950,
Yep.
900. I almost sold it one time because the deal was just too good to pass up, but I ran it through my CPA and with the capital gains I would
Yeah.
owe, I could have kept the cabin for 3 more years and made that income in 3 years. And I plan to keep it for the foreseeable future. So it just didn't work out, which is
Yep.
fine. Now that we're in 2025, I'm looking at the calendar and it's not booked. Like it's very sparse. Maybe 1 week a month is booked. I also have it's a 4-bedroom plus a bunk bedroom. So it's kind of like a 5-bedroom. I have seen on Airbnb and VRBO that the bigger cabins right now are not renting like they have been. I think the big group vacations have sort of simmered down.
Right.
And the 2 and 3-bedroom cabins are sort of the ones that are booking.
But you got the
So,
perk of, I mean, I'm not sure how it was purchased or whatnot, but you have a really big advantage with write-offs for business purposes and
oh, yes.
that's
That's
another
what I told
reason.
my husband because we had some really big expenses already this year. Random things. For example, I'll tell you one. My cleaning lady was like, there's like a soot in the house. Like I can't describe it. The whole main floor is covered in this black soot and it's on the drapes and it's on your granite countertops and it's this and it's that. And I'm like, I just don't know what this could be. And she's like, me either. And so the fireplace in the living room is a gas log fireplace and it has a knob on it that turns off. You turn it on and it stays on for an hour and then it shuts off. And you can, of course, turn it back on and keep it running if you want. That's what I do when I was there. If it turned off, I turn it back on. Well, she was like, I think it's coming from the fireplace. I'm like, but it's a gas fireplace. It's not even real wood. So I call this gas log company and they're like, well, when's the last time that you had it serviced? I'm like, never. I've never had my gas log fireplace serviced. So he's like, well, let me go over there and see what's going on. So he goes and he sends me these pictures. He picks up a log and underneath it is just totally charred black. He said, people don't realize this, but these gas logs do not last forever.
Oh gosh.
And when they lose their seal, which takes years, and I don't know how long those logs were there before I bought it, when they lose their seal, they start burning.
I would have
And
never
it
known that.
essentially, I had to spend thousands of dollars. I had white ceilings, they were sooted. ever so slightly. Had to have ceilings painted, drapes replaced, couches cleaned. The new logs were $1,200. Like, I had to pay so much money because of this issue. And that was just one of like 4 things that has happened this year at the cabin. But what you said, you know, I told my husband, I have a job, you have a job. This is an investment. Mm-hmm. So these are things that are going to come up. It's still making money. It's long term. And now, you know, during this time in our life, maybe we take a loss on the cabin in 2025 and get a tax break.
Right.
The cabin is still worth money. It's still bringing in money. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's just the numbers are still working. It's just, you know, there's always the hassle of a maybe. So
right. That's what I said. If someone's paying my mortgage for me, like, yeah, it's a long time, but it's great if you get a little bit more, which we do. And so it made sense.
Yeah, for sure. And that's how I feel about, you know, there is no easy free money.
No, there's not.
There's always going to be work involved, which you know from, have you seen any like crazy things after a guest checks out at your Airbnb, or have you been pretty lucky?
Yes, I've had amazing guests, but I do attribute that to, I do all the guest communication. So up front, I'm very like, have the best time ever. Here's my house rules. They're not long. They're just like, be considerate, you know. And, but one time I had just chicken bones on the floor, like a trail, just chicken bones on the floor. I'm like, that's just, and it wasn't even that bad. Like, you'd think it'd be a party scene, like 2 liters and beer spilled over, just like a trail. And there wasn't even kids there. So that part was weird. But other than that, broken lamp, broken bed, listen, tell me about it. And that's all I ask. If it was accidental, if you were, you know, anything else, I've only charged a guest once. And that was because it was obvious damage.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's not bad. No, that's not bad.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit about the, right.
Hey friends, this month in Community, we have a member-led class, and we have a transaction coordinator who has seen it all and sees what goes on behind the scenes, and she is going to give us some tips and tricks on how to run your business like a business.
So if you're interested in learning how to run your business like a business, you can join us in the Hustle Humbly community. There's still time to get in if you're not there yet. The live will happen on June 26th at 2 p.m. Central. And you can join at hustlehumblypodcast.com/membership.
We can't wait to see you there.
Can we talk a little bit about the blog? Yes. When did you start blogging? What inspired that? And like, where is that at now?
Sure. So it is picking back up again. This whole situation set us back, but I do have some brand partnerships. So in the next few months, I'll be sharing some things there. But it started in 2014 after the birth of my second child, which Ellison Made did. It started as an Etsy shop because I was in healthcare full time, started at the bottom, worked my way to clinic trainer. And then I had my second baby, and I had a 2-year-old and a newborn. And it was time for me to go back to work after my maternity leave. And my paycheck is going to childcare. That was it. And so it just was breaking my heart that I'm going back to work for childcare, and that's like a wash. Mm-hmm. So I asked my husband, God bless his sweet soul, I had about $600 saved. I said, how would you feel if I took this money and I bought a silhouette machine and some plywood? And this was like fixer-upper Joanna Gaines days. And I started making signs and selling them online. And I'm the realist in the family. He is the eternal optimist. Again, bless him. And he said, yeah, go for it. Like, we needed 2 incomes. All of my friends were able to stay home. We were never there. We had to work. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a few weeks. And long story short, I sold on Etsy. It was wonderful, but I worked harder and worked longer hours than I ever had just to make a $100 sign that took hours. And so then I started partnering with Sharpie marker and, the hot Mod Podge and wood companies and things that paid me a lot more to do one project. And that's when I learned the world of blogging in 2014 till about 19.
What made them trust you to take on as a partnership? Like, how did that come to be with a big company like Sharpie?
Yes, I think, well, first of all, nowadays they have platforms. You see the content creators, and here's this platform that connects you with the brands. Back then, it would be, directly talking to, hey, would you like to, or I'm using this product. Do you want me to partner with me on this? And I share about it. And so that was probably the earlier days of it. But I think I did have a media kit where I showed the work that I have done and my social audience and things of that nature. But that too kind of can become all consuming when you're glued to your phone. And so the biggest thing was that I was able to partner with brands who would give me stuff for my home. And so not only was I forcing appreciation, but they're paying me and providing me with product. That's why I love real estate. It all kind of works together to feature their products, to not have to pay for them, or at least to work for them, if you will, in exchange.
And that also gives you content when, instead of having to think of, well, I've renovated my whole house, I have nothing left to renovate. Should I just go rip something out so I can redo it for the sake of a post?
I have never been there. My husband wishes, because he's like, are we ever, I know there's some that do. We've never, ever, there's always a project that we could do here. And but it is so, there's so much things that we could do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell me a little bit about staging. Do you still do some staging? Do you offer that for your real estate clients? Obviously, you've had to do it for your short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
What is your staging situation?
I staged my very first 2 listings last year that I got, and I think it made everything look beautiful. When they walked in, it was great. I see the true advantage of staging. Right now where I am, because a lot of that furniture happened to go, besides the homes that were still on the market at the time that did not flood, I'm just offering staging consultations, and I will do like accessorizing where I bring in, 1 or 2 cars worth. I'm not going to bring in big furniture right now, but I think in this market, it's kind of back. You kind of have to put the advantage. I know there's virtual staging. I haven't done that yet. Really, I like the feel of real furniture, but I also see the advantage of helping people visualize. A lot of people cannot visualize a space. I think it was like 10%. Like some company said that only 10% of people can see what's it could be. Otherwise, you have to like paint the picture for them.
Yeah, I know Katie and I both, like if we have a listing, we'll have orchids, towels, a canvas over the mantle, things that when a buyer's walking through a more sparse home, it at least feels homey.
Yes,
people make
absolutely.
decisions with their feelings and their emotions. But neither of us have done furniture, big furniture, like couches and beds. Yeah.
And I won't do them for occupied it only has to be if you're already out of the house, because you break something or that furniture hurts you. It's too much of a liability. But that's okay. So you guys, do you still do that? You put in small items here and there when you need to? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. And that I don't mind bringing also to an occupied home. Like if they have shelves around their TV, but they're bare or they're filled with books, I'm like, look, you need to pack that away. I'll bring a couple of things.
Yep.
That doesn't, because they're not really using it. It's just static,
Yep.
But I don't see full house staging here that often. It's more of trickier listings, newer construction.
You guys have a lot of new construction. We're built up. I mean, unless someone can find a piece of land, it's mostly buying and fixing and flipping and renovating. So we do have, I think, a lot of investors that stage.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because they're flipping. So they want it to look good when they're done. That makes sense. On your staging consult, how long does that take? Like, what do you schedule that like with your client?
I do it with the listing consultation, or I might come back if the listing consultation is shorter, but I just want to go through with pictures and then I can think later, because when I'm there, I'm with them. And so I actually put it all in kind of a report to give to them. And then day of photos, I'll go back. And if there's anything like, do you mind if we just move this way until, to the photographer, then I can put my fluff on it.
Do you charge them for that consult separately, or it's just part of your listing services?
It's because I'm a newer, newly licensed. This is my advantage. But the thing is people have known for years. I get messages all the time. What color paint should I do this? Because of the blog aspect or design. So people trust me when it comes to that. So this is just part of I offer it because it's me.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great way to lean into your skills and what your, experience has been. Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Do you have any long-term rentals right now?
No, the one we're in now, when we're finished with it, this was supposed to be 2 years and we're going on 4 come August. When we're done with this will be mid to longer term. But I did do that in Georgia. I kept that house when we moved down. We bought this one while keeping that one as a long-term. And I like eyes on things. I don't know if it's a quality control, but that's why I will only do homes that I can access. Because if a year goes by and there was a leak that I didn't know about, and I can go and do random inspections, but I also know that that's their home when it's long-term, so I don't want to bother them. So, yeah.
Yeah. I have a few long-term rentals, and I'm pretty hands-off with them. I mean, they're where I live, they're in my city, but like I have the AC serviced once a year, and I asked the technician, I'm like, how'd it look in there? Was it, I just don't want to go see It's like I'm taking
ignorance is
my
bliss.
nervousness as the opposite. I'm
Yeah.
not going because I'm not nervous about it. I'm going because I don't know if I could handle seeing it while someone's living in it.
And my husband is that way. He's like, why are we buying houses we're trying to fix up? Just buy whatever and move someone into it. And I totally understand that side of things. And I think I will get there now. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I'd rather just not know, because now I'm going to be like, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But even before this, when me and Katie were looking at your Instagram and, watching some of the time lapse stuff that you do to be like, I transformed this or I transformed that. I just can't get over at like the video you did about the side of your house, making it pretty after it's just been the side of your house for so long. And I'm thinking, because you did the before and after, and then you showed how it happened. And I thought it was going to be like oh, look, a quick, easy. No, I told Katie, I said, this renovation that she did, I would have to hire somebody. Like, you and your husband were out there. How long did that take?
That was, I think, maybe a week or two. So that's the thing, is that there's always mid-projects in the middle of them. But I don't think it took that long, really. It really actually was one of the easier projects. That was a partnership with Home Depot, and they were paying me for my time and for my work. So that one, I think that was Home
That's
Depot.
neat.
Or Traeger, I don't know. Yeah, so that didn't take too long. And I would not do like an artificial lawn for my whole lawn. He's like, let's just do it. We did it there. I'm like, nope, you can level this little section, but to do an entire yard, I would be hiring for, because you got to have the right, base and all of that. But it definitely spruced up a pretty sparse area.
So are you reaching out to these people for sponsorships, or are you at a point where people are reaching out to you because of your social media presence? Like, where do you fall in that?
Well, it's been about a year since real estate so I haven't been pushing and sharing as much there. So naturally, I mean, there has been some still since the flood that like, this is the perfect opportunity to kind of rebuild and go. So I said yes to a few things, but it's both. In the beginning, it was like, hey, I'm already using this. Do you want to? Sure, let's go. And sometimes it was just product. But if I'm buying a tub or a shower head, I was fine with that. And then it got to where I had to do bigger projects or charge more. But now I feel like it's almost oversaturated, if you will. A lot of people will do a lot of work for something little, and my time is valuable. So I think it's a great thing to break into if that's of interest to you.
Mm-hmm. Does it feel like some of those partnership dollars or opportunities shifted into social media after, so it was more like do it for a post or do it for a story, and you were doing like a whole blog entry that was a bigger ask, I would think.
Yeah, well, the bigger asks are coming now. It was kind of like a share this, a mention this. It wasn't as formalized. Now they are very formalized contracts with X amount of things, and it is comparable to the amount you're getting. I mean, it's a lot of work sometimes that people just don't see because it's a 60-second clip, right? Like you said, it was like, oh, here's the before, here's the after. That was weeks of time. And so I would need to be compensated for it, or I was going to buy it anyway. So I look at it that way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Very cool.
It is. I think it's just interesting because your story is so interesting because you've done some live-in stuff, you've done short-term, long-term renovations. Like you have your hands in and managing your own Airbnb. Like I think about my cabin. I could never,
Did you do guest communications, or no, you have that automated?
So a friend of mine does my business bookkeeping.
Okay.
Like for my real estate business. And I asked her, like, hey, how would you feel? Because she's a techie person and she just wants to be behind a computer. And so she just takes on like bookkeeping clients. And so I asked her down the line, hey, how would you feel about managing this? And she has to call me when there's a problem or something. But as far as the guests, she is actually the one that communicates with the guests. Yeah. So it's probably how it needs to be for me.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I think I would be a mess all the time.
I don't feel like you could do both. I can't take on another property. Someone asked if I was going to do another Airbnb, and I don't think I could with, like I said, real estate and the short-term rental, just because a lot of the ones that do successful here are either directly on the ocean, beach, pool. I don't have either of those at my property. I put a little hot tub in, but I guess what excels is that I am available if you need some issue arises, and my guest communication. So I can't automate that because that's what sets me apart. But I also am now I've not gone 4 years, not going, you know what I mean? So I don't know if I'm setting myself up one way or the other, but the goal would be to remove myself slowly, just like you've kind of done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it takes practice, you know.
Yeah. And well, it's nice to have someone you trust stepping into that role. You're not just like, outsourcing it to somebody you don't know.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
This was very interesting.
Brittany, is there anything else you feel like our listeners should know from you?
From
you
me?
listen to the show, so you know what it's about.
I think I just want to commend you guys for just being so, first of all, authentic and real and kind of putting all of those stories out there. I said that nobody really sells. Realtors get this thing of being salesy, and I feel like if you have value, you don't have to be salesy. And you guys provide so much value between the podcast and also, your community, your email. Your email templates are one of the things where I was like, okay, I got licensed. Well, what happens after this process? And it was like its own training, even though I know it was going to the customer or client or whatever you call it in your area, that it was super educational. So I really appreciated that. And you guys are just giving value.
Oh, well,
thank you.
That's our goal. If we don't have something valuable to say, we don't want to say anything at all.
No,
so that's perfect.
Okay. If anyone wants to find you, where can they find you?
Yes. So if it's social media for DIY content, home stuff, that's at Ellison Made, ELLISONMADE, and ellisonmade.com. If you are local to Pinellas County and want to buy or sell, that would be thecoastalagentfl.com or at thecoastalagent. And if you would like to book a vacation, come on down to Clearwater-ish area. That would be the Palm Harbor Hideaway and palmharborhideaway.com.
So cute.
I love it.
I know.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, did you bring a toast?
Do you have someone
who would like to give a toast? I brought a toast, and I don't know if she listens or not, but she's going to, and I'm going to send this to her because this is going to go to Erin Kirk, this is what they do. They get you kind of emotional.
Good.
She's just been a great resource for me, and I've just been so grateful because it's sometimes like, you don't want to ask, you should know, there's these things. And she's like, somebody help me. So anytime you have a question, I'm like, well, I can't anytime. Well, no, I will send it like, hey, no need to get back. She's like, blah, 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 blah. And I just really appreciate that because I feel like it is sometimes a dog eat dog and it's not always, everyone wanting them to succeed. And so Erin Kirk, I appreciate you so much for answering things that you don't have to. I appreciate it. And if and when I can ever return the favor, I will.
Is she's in your office?
She is, yes. Yep. She's another real estate agent in my brokerage.
Did you know her before?
No. And when one of my listings was on the market, everything around it had flooded. This one did not. And my sellers, bless them, they're so awesome. They thought like me, like, hey, it's not moving right now. And it's obviously when people pull in, they know that this is just recently flooded. It looked like there's just piles of debris outside. She came along and was like, let me set up leasing for you. So we rented it out to another neighbor whose house flooded. It was just like this team effort of something so beautiful. Everyone being like, hey, I'm like, I don't know how to do this lease. Really, truly. I was like, I don't know how yet. She's like, gotcha, we'll figure it out. And we did. And we got some people in there for a month. They got their house built back. And then we ended up getting that listing sold. So I just remember that in like kind of a hard time. What's that? Yeah. Yes. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. It's such a good time.